Mr. Heng Swee Keat, Minister for Education, Ms. Chan Lai Fang, Permanent Secretary, Education, Ministry of Education and Chairperson, NIE Council, Mr. Neo Kian Hong, Permanent Secretary, Education Development, Ministry of Education, Ms. Ho Peng, Director General of Education, Ministry of Education, Professor Lee Sing Kong, Director, NIE, distinguished guests, fellow graduates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. It is my honor and privilege to be the valedictorian for the class of the PGDE Secondary 2012 July intake. In the past year, we have been asked time and again to reflect on our teaching philosophy. What kind of teacher would we like to be? And what does teaching mean to each and every one of us? Today, I have come to believe that teaching is an art informed by the science of learning. In the first 8 months of our course, we acquired pedagogical content knowledge in our respective subject domains. We were taught theories on educational psychology and learned classroom management strategies. Through service learning projects and the Meranti workshop, we also gained facilitative skills relevant to character and citizenship education. All these added up to form a scientific base upon which we could develop sound teaching processes and practices. However, as I embarked on my practicum at Northview Secondary School, I realized that while knowledge of educational theories was important, that alone did not suffice. As a Chinese language teacher, I was caught off guard when I met with students whose language proficiencies were far lower than what I had expected. The paradigm shift towards second language pedagogy in mother tongue education was a reality that I had to grapple with on a day-to-day basis. Faced with complex issues and challenging learners in the classroom, my peers and I discovered that the imperative was to understand our students' profiles and conduct a proper diagnosis of their learning difficulties. Only by understanding why students were behaving the way they did, could we then decide how to create the optimal conditions to foster effective learning. To achieve this, we constantly consulted the more experienced teachers and leveraged on their insights and practical wisdom. Like Kung Fu masters, they imparted the art of teaching to us through their advice and coaching. Pedagogical exploration and innovation became possible as I blended the science of learning taught at NIE with the art of teaching that my colleagues selflessly shared with me. As I started to make language strategies more explicit, infused ICT into my teaching, and when appropriate, used English to explain the meanings of Chinese terms, my students began to appreciate that Chinese language can be learned and that with effort, they can improve. The vindicating moment came when my weaker normal academic students took the initiative to approach me for advice on improving their command of Mandarin and voluntarily completed their self-study of online vocabulary flashcards during the June holidays. But there is more to the joy of teaching apart from engaging students in learning. As the teacher's vision clearly spells out, Singapore educators seek to lead, care, inspire. Here, I would like to share a quote from a book titled Let Your Life Speak, Listening for the Voice of Vocation by Parker J. Palmer. He said, I quote, "A leader is someone with the power to project either shadow or light onto some part of the world and onto the lives of the people who dwell there. A leader shapes the ethos in which others must live, an ethos as light-filled as heaven or as shadowy as hell. I think, for example, of teachers who create the conditions under which young people must spend so many hours. Some shine a light that allows new growth to flourish, while others cast a shadow under which seedlings die." Unquote. Yes, every teacher is a leader in his or her own right, because we can make or break the young lives that pass through our hands. During my practicum, I came to realize that many students today need adult figures in their lives whom they can role model and seek advice from. Therefore, if we, as teachers, can touch their hearts and establish trust with our students, we can truly unlock the potential of a student-centric, values-driven education. For as the former Czech Republic President Václav Havel once said, I quote, "Salvation of this human world lies nowhere else than in the human heart, in the human power to reflect, in human modesty, and in human responsibility," unquote. On behalf of the graduates, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all the professors and lecturers who have taught us in the past year. We would also like to thank all the school leaders, school coordinating mentors, and cooperating teachers for their guidance during our 10 weeks of teaching practicum. Also, a big thank you to all our loved ones who have been there for us when we spent endless nights and weekends drafting lesson plans and designing PowerPoint slides. Lastly, to my fellow beginning teachers, I would like to share these 8 words from the ancient Chinese classic Dao De Jing. It goes, 千里之行，始于足下. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. Never stop trying to make an impact on your students, but when things don't go your way, have patience and always keep the faith. Thank you very much.